Texas Tech men's basketball survives 84-83 over Wake Forest down in the Bahamas. In today's video, we'll recap the game and how Texas Tech was simply not the better team on the floor in this one, how timely threes and JT Toppin saved the day, and we're going to have some major questions surrounding the perimeter defense for Texas Tech, and simply put, the lack of physicality on this roster. Let's discuss. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Red and Black Report. Appreciate y'all tuning in to today's game recap video. We're going to have some serious conversations about this Texas Tech men's basketball team. But while you're here, if you want to stay in the know and really have the most authentic as well as just good conversations when it comes to YouTube and the Texas Tech space, this is the place for you. And the best way to help support the channel is simply liking the video and hitting that subscribe button. All right, let's get to the stats. You see them on your screen right there. Red Raiders won this one 84-83. I don't know how they did. I really don't know how they did. I mean, it would be threes if we're being honest, but I thought Texas Tech was the worst team on the floor tonight out of the two. We'll talk about physicality here in a minute. JT Toppin was sensational. Just missed a double-double, had 21 points, though. Texas Tech as a team shot just north of 40% from the field, 34% from three. And, I mean, it really wasn't that pretty. You won the rebounding battle in this one, but you had 14 total turnovers, and they capitalized to the Demon Deacons and Steve Forbes' squad with 23 points. They outpaced you when it came to bench points as well, just dominating you in that statistic. But, I mean, overall, when you look at the box score for this team, right, you go and look, I mean, the Red Raiders just weren't very good tonight. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. I thought Jaylen Petty was one of the bright spots alongside JT Toppin. We're going to need to have a conversation about Christian Anderson and what this offense has to do to make sure that he is used correctly, as he played every minute of this game except for one. I thought there were stretches where he was non-existent offensively. Donovan Atwell did not play at all in the second half after getting 4 quick personal fouls. I guess he did play a little bit in the second half. I misspoke there, but not much. Tyree Bryan played 36 minutes. He had Lawan Watts with 32. He went 1 for 9 from the field. There's so many points of conversation that we need to have about this team. Let's go ahead and start, though, with the major defensive concern. Okay, we came into this season knowing that Grant McCasland and crew were prioritizing perimeter defenders. And I'll be honest with you, I like Jaylen Petty. He's feisty out there on the perimeter, but he's listed at 6'1". If he's 6'1", I'm 6'1". And for those that know me, I'm 5'9", maybe 5'10" on a good day. Okay, so there's only so much he can do. All right, and that's with his freakish athleticism. Okay. We have to have more from Donovan Atwell. We have to have more from Tyree Bryan. These were two guys that Texas Tech pinpointed in the portal because they are snipers from the outside. Donovan Atwell has lived up to that side of the bargain in terms of why he was brought in. But when it comes to both of them on the perimeter defensively, they are getting cooked. Whatever I'm cooking on the Blackstone on game day for Texas Tech football, I mean, that's what's happening to Tyree Bryan and Donovan Atwell when it comes to them trying to defend on the perimeter right now. Tyree Bryan looks like he's a full step too slow when it comes to guarding guards on the perimeter. Donovan Atwell lacks the physicality, and that's just not a knock on Donovan Atwell. That's a knock on the entire roster right now. This Texas Tech team, I'm not going to call them soft, but Grant McCasland basically damn near did in his post-game interview with CBS Sports Network after this Wake Forest win, saying Wake Forest was the more physical team tonight. They bullied us, basically, is what Grant McCasland said. And he's 100% right. This Texas Tech team has to get tough and quick. I mean, it has to happen quick. And it has to start on the defensive end of the floor, specifically on the perimeter, because you are asking a hell of a lot from JT Toppin and Christian Anderson at this current state for Texas Tech on the offensive end. I'm not saying they should take the defensive end off. They have to be two-way players. But damn it, you brought those two guys in, and I'm calling them out right now because hopefully it'll get better. In fact, I think it will. But right now we have to call a spade, and they have just not been good defensively. And that was a major reason they were brought in, was Donovan Atwell and Tyree Bryant. It has to get better. It has to get better on the defensive end. And it's a major concern, right? It really is, because you have Luke Bamboye, you have JT Toppin down low, but they're getting pulled out to the perimeter. And Tyree Bryant's struggling to get over screens, and that's just creating wide open lanes. I mean, y'all saw the dunk that the Wake Forest player had that was a tomahawk slam. It was because Tyree Bryant was a foot too slow, and he got caught up in a screen. It was a solid screen, but you can fight through that with your size and physicality, Tyree. I know I'm calling them out right now for that. I understand. It is what it is. Another aspect of this, I don't understand from an offensive perspective. And again, I'm not trying to act like I know it all. I don't. I'm just a guy with a podcast at the end of the day, right? But I would like to think I know a little bit about ball, and I can trust my eyes when I see things, okay? I don't understand why on God's green earth Texas Tech refuses for long stretches of time offensively to get JT Toppin involved in the pick and roll up at the top of the key with Christian Anderson. This is where both of those guys thrive. They thrive there, but instead they get JT down on the block. And I'm not saying go away from that altogether, but when you have 4 or 5 minute prolonged stretches of multiple offensive possessions where all you're doing is going down to the right side of the floor, it's CA JT Toppin, and you know they're going to triple team or double team JT, and he's a great passer, but it continuously doesn't work because Wake Forest has made adjustments and really is like, hey, beat us. And they're just not doing it. The surrounding roster around JT and Christian Anderson, you got to change things up. And the best way to do that, Texas Tech is at their best offensively, specifically JT Toppin and Christian Anderson. And when they're at their best, they make everybody else better in the pick and roll, specifically at the top of the key where they can space, extend a defense. JT Toppin can use his athleticism to get downhill with his left hand. Christian Anderson can do the same, or just pop out and shoot the three. JT can do that too, but it spaces everything out. You put a guy in the corner on one side, you put a guy on the corner on the other side, you have a slasher. Boom. There you go. Like, that's when you're at your best. And I know other teams know that, but damn it, it's hard to stop when you have Christian Anderson and JT Toppin operating the pick and roll. You need to use it more, Texas Tech. You have to use it more. And it's going to limit what teams do on the defensive end, because they're going to have to go through things that they're typically not going to want to do because Texas Tech is so good on the offensive end in the pick and roll, okay? Another aspect of this, we have to be more aggressive. And I say we like I'm on the floor there. They have to be more aggressive, okay? Christian Anderson gets into the paint whenever the hell he wants. He's an automatic bucket, okay? Lawan Watts, I don't understand it. I see the vision, and he is a talented player, but there are parts of times in this game where I'm just like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Bully ball, bro. You are bigger than this guy. Lower your shoulder a little bit. Force the ref to call something. Out physical this guy, right? There's no aggression outside of maybe a minuscule stretch here or there with this team. And I get it. I'm isolating to this game, but also I'm not, because it was the same thing against Illinois up in Champaign. There was just a lack of physicality. And at the end of the day, this team has to be physical if it wants to reach its objective. And its objective is to make the second weekend of the NCAA tournament and go to the Final Four and hopefully cut down the nets in Indianapolis this year. It starts with JT Toppin and Christian Anderson on the offensive end in the pick and roll. They have to use it more. They just have to, okay? Like, I understand you're going to drop the ball off to JT on the block, and he's great down there, and he's a great passer, but you can't do it for long stretches of time. Just mix it in there, but go to the pick and roll, get Christian Anderson in space, get JT Toppin in space, have Lawan Watts be the slasher with Donovan Atwell in one corner, Tyree Bryant in the other, or whoever you want to put out there, Jaylen Petty, whatever. I don't care, but get the pick and roll between Christian Anderson and JT Toppin going more. Another aspect of this, you don't even have to limit this to just CA and JT Toppin. You can put Lawan Watts as the primary ball handler in the pick and roll with JT Toppin. I think that's another area where it would make Lawan Watts more comfortable, and he could use his physicality to get downhill. And if there's a couple of fouls where they call a charge or an offensive foul, I really don't care. I want to see Lawan Watts be aggressive downhill and use his physicality, because I think once you get that aspect of his game locked and loaded offensively for Texas Tech, it's going to be hard as hell to beat the Red Raiders. And not to mention, Christian Anderson, I still have the utmost confidence in him as a primary ball handler, but he's also really good off the ball. Okay. And if you can make Christian Anderson an extra weapon in terms of off the ball, I think that just expands what teams have to prepare for. And Lawan Watts has proven he can be a primary ball handler. And you just get those two big guys in a situation where there's not many teams in the country that can guard Lawan Watts and JT Toppin in the pick and roll on the perimeter. There's just not a lot of teams that can guard that. I just it's basketball 101. They got to get back to it. But I think the biggest thing for me, and Grant McCasland, again, was the man that said it after the game. If this team isn't physical, they're just not going to get where they want to go. They have to be more physical, point blank, period. I understand this is a rant video, but if you take a couple of things away from this Wake Forest game that are concerning to me, it's that perimeter defense, the lack of aggression really on both ends of the floor, and the lack offensively of getting guys in comfortable situations for themselves. Primarily the big three for Texas Tech, and that's what they are. Okay, I know people are frustrated with Lawan Watts. If Texas Tech wants to meet that goal of making the Final Four and cutting down the nets, it better be a big three, because CA and JT Toppin can get you far, but you have to have that third player that teams have to account for, and Lawan Watts has to be that guy. And I think you can get him in the pick and roll, allow him to be more downhill, aggressive in that type of setting, and be the passer that he's good at being, and things will open up for Texas Tech. I'm more concerned personally in terms of long-term until I see it on the defensive end. Texas Tech will be fine on the offensive end. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm more concerned about the physicality and the perimeter defense for Texas Tech, because that's something that haunted Texas Tech at times last year. They got it together when it mattered, and I think they can do that this year, and more than likely will, because Grant McCasland is a top 10 coach in college basketball, and always seemingly makes the right adjustments for his roster and adapts to them. But I mean, that was tough. That was a tough watch. Wake Forest cooked you defensively on the perimeter for, I mean, 30, 32 minutes of this game. I mean, really, really long stretches of time. And that Demon Deacon team, I think, is a tournament team. Their two losses now are by 1 point each to top 15 teams, one in Michigan against the Wolverines up in Detroit. And then obviously this Texas Tech matchup. Steve Forbes got those boys down at Wake Forest playing at an elite level. That's a big time test for the Red Raiders. And an even bigger one is on deck, as the Red Raiders will play number 1 Purdue tomorrow night in the Baja Mar Championship final matchup. It'll be a top 15 matchup between the Red Raiders and the Boilermakers. Red Raiders are going to have to play a whole hell of a lot better against Purdue if they're going to want to take down number 1 down in the Caribbean. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button, as it's the best way to help support the channel and for you to stay in the know 100% free on Texas Tech men's basketball and football all year long, right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube and the Red and Black Report. All right, I'm RC Maxfield, reminding you, as always, stay safe and Wreck 'em Tech.